Hello and welcome back to the 2021 European Orienteering Championships here in the beautiful Neuchâtel in Switzerland. Today we've got our first ever knockout sprint at a major championships, so it'll be a time to crown two new champions. We've already had the qualification yesterday where 36 men and 36 women qualified, and already today we've had the quarterfinals cutting that number in half. So 18 men and 18 women remain. I'm Catherine Betts, and Jonas Mertz and I will be taking you through the semi-finals and then the finals this afternoon, starting first with the men and then the women. And so just looking at some pictures from the qualification, which was yesterday over in Saint Blaise, who made it and who kind of maybe more importantly didn't make it through to the quarterfinals?
Well, Catherine, I won't tell you all the names that made it, but I can name some of the runners who didn't make it yesterday in the qualification. And maybe the biggest surprise, Gustav Bergman, who didn't make it to the final. He said that he had quite a good race, but just simply wasn't fast enough. Then other names, Frédéric Tronchon from France, Martina Ruch, Switzerland, and Emil Svensk, who didn't feel that good yesterday. He wasn't at the start. So already there we had four quite big names, which I would have expected in at least the quarterfinal already out.
Yeah, what about on the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, we had Martina Ruch there, who didn't make it. Otherwise, I think, in the quarterfinal today, we had Emma Biesmu as well, who wasn't making it to the semi-final, to the race this afternoon. Otherwise, I think all the biggest favorites are in at least the quarterfinal and semi-final.
And it was only, 10 and a half minutes of racing yesterday. But, as Gustav Bergman was saying, you absolutely had to push the whole way round. You couldn't kind of let up and be orienteering any easier with the just tightness of the qualifications.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you had the 3 heats. Only 12 runners will make it to the final or to the knockout sprint, to the real one today. And you can, if you have a really, really good race, you can slow down a bit from, let's say, the second last control to the last control or whatever. If you hear the coaches and they say it's okay, you're gonna make it. But if you slow down already in the beginning, also the kind of orienteering will change and it will make it very difficult for you.
Right, let's move on. So we've had our quarterfinals. This is the course for the semi-finals. So Jonas, talk us through it. We're in the kind of the old town and the castle. Exactly.
So the castle, that's where the first control is, and you also see that it's quite a big climbing up there to the first control. To the second control, we will have the runner's choice. So now here they will probably split up. There are 3 different choices. We will see them now. Now we have the A option, and I think the A option is the most difficult one technically, because you have these different levels. You have to understand that you have to go up the stairs then and take the bridge to control 3A. So it's maybe not the easiest one. Control 2B, I think it's easier a bit because you have more time after the bridge. In case you don't understand it, you might spot the house there and the building and just navigate to it. And then we have also the green option, C option, and I think this one is the easiest one, because when you come over the bridge you have so much time to relocate in case you don't really get it there. You have the other runners that take maybe A or B, but you have so much time, so you will really see and get time to read the map. And then to control 5 you have these different levels again, but you have already seen the bridge to control 2, so I think it won't be too difficult. This is the TV control as well, here up at the castle. And then we are going down again from the hill, control 5 to 6. There's a route choice, and many of the route choices here, they will involve the stairs, and the stairs, especially downhill, they can slow you down in a manner you wouldn't want, and maybe it's hard to calculate that when you decide your route choice, but it's absolutely crucial that you do that, because you have many of the small route choices here involving stairs. And in this race here, I think control 10-11 will be very interesting. It's the last chance to make a difference. If you are a bit behind, you have the chance to choose another route here, either up the stairs more to the north, or you back out again from the control to the south and you avoid the climbing and also the stairs.
Yeah, so some opportunities to make some route choices. Always so it's coming off the castle, off the hill there, and it's also a few of the controls at the end. But we've been chatting to the course setters, the course planners, and they've said that really this runner's choice, they aren't expecting it to be too different in terms of how long they take, are they?
No, the idea of the course planners was really to split up the field. They want that runners choose differently. Normally, or what we have seen before, if there's a clear way that is, or an option that's clearly faster, all of the runners are choosing the fastest option. But the idea here is really to split up the field, have 3 options which are quite the same in when it comes to time it takes to execute it, just to split up the field. And I think that's a good thing. You will create a bit of nervosity. You will make the runners nervous, and especially here in the beginning, and you had this uphill to the first control. Maybe they were starting quite fast, and then you have to be ready to change and read the map all by yourself.
Yeah, that's what it's really trying to get the athletes to do. It's really making sure that they are reading the map, they're making their own decisions, and of course they won't know the other athletes that they're surrounded by. They won't know which option they've chosen, so it's just forcing them to read the map. So we will start with our first semi-final, and we can see the lineup here. Neuchâtel was the fastest in his quarter-final. The Swede, former sprint world champion, and I think really this knockout sprint has really shown the fact that we have had 18 months off, 18 months since our last competition, because we've got some of those who we're very, very familiar in seeing, and some of those like Thomas Heikkila who we haven't seen so much. And maybe if we had competitions in the last year, we would be familiar with these names as being the top. We need to pick out Wojtek Kral though, possibly the favourite for today. He's won both knockout sprints on the World Cup circuit in the Czech Republic and in Switzerland. He has won both of them, so he is a big name. Axel Granqvist, he won the Swedish knockout sprint championships, being the only one not to make a bit of a parallel error in that final. He came from 6th to 1st right at the very end of that knockout. It was very exciting. And Samuel Pilstrom is also in there, another youngster in that list. We've also got, I didn't mention, Ricardo Rancan there from Switzerland. He was the 5th in the Swiss sprint champs, actually the 3rd Swiss there, but the 5th overall in that kind of international competition. So they're ready to make their runner's choice. They've got 20 seconds to make the decision here, and you can see the volunteers lift up the map. You can see they've got A, B or C, and they will pick one of those rolled up maps after the 20 seconds. You can see Wojtek Kral, everybody heads down trying to look at all the different options, which one is going to be the best, and then hopefully we will see which one they have taken. So it looks like a B for Wojtek Kral, C for Thomas Heikkila, a C there and a B there. For Neuchâtel has taken the B. So we will see them there. Quite a few C's as we were expecting. Axel Granqvist at the moment is the only one who's gone with the A. And we're going to a few seconds to the start now.
We will see if it is, as expected, maybe a bit more difficult, but I mean the course planner, they really made a good job here, because we have all the 3 options chosen in this heat at least. Yeah,
absolutely. And so they set out already from this start and head out towards the actual start kites, and then they've got to make a decision. Oh, and it's split up already. Thomas Heikkila has gone. He looks like he's going to go up the steps, and it looks like all go up kind of the west of the line, and everybody else going up to the east. So kind of what the course planners were hoping would happen, that they would split up on these route choice legs up to the castle. And we're really going to kind of see now as they head up here what is it like going up those steps. There we go, you can see they're pretty steep. Well, all of the others will probably be going up some steps on the other side as well. But so we haven't actually said yet, it is the top 2 only to go through to the finals. So whereas the qualifiers to the finals, it was top 3, we've only got 2 spots to make it through here. Oh, and we can't tell whether they're going up the steps or not. It looks like they are into that control number 1. So you can see they've already split up. Here is the group of 5 then,
and
coming up the steps.
As I said before, the steps here, they're very steep, and now it's okay if you run uphill, but when you go down again, it will slow you down really much. And now we see that this option seems to be faster. We haven't seen Thomas Heikkila yet. Maybe. No.
So maybe losing out there. And this is where they're splitting up into the second control. And they will go over the bridge.
Exactly, for the first time. They will see this bridge many times in the coming minutes.
They will. So you can see the different options that they've taken, and really when we kind of get back to that 5th control, we'll start to have an indication of really whether any of them were better or worse. But kind of the ultimate point is really to split up these athletes. It's to force them to do their own orienteering, and when they've just been climbing up that hill, they've really been pushing hard. They've got to be very careful. There's Thomas Heikkila has certainly caught up the rest of the group now, and they're over by the kind of furthest west point, and they've got to go down these steps to punch there. Looks like Ricardo Rankin, the Swiss, is right at the head of that group, and we've got Jerker Lusel up there as well, Wojtek Kral. Those seem to be the 3 at the front currently.
And watch out for Samuel Pilström, the Swedish youngster. I don't think you want to end up in a sprint finish against him. He's a really fast guy. Was top 3 in the Swedish championships in 1500 meters, and he was actually running 3000 meters indoor in 8:09 in January, so he is really a fast guy and still a junior.
But it looks like we have got a little gap on these 3 now. Wojtek Kral, Jerker Lusel, Ricardo Rankin as well. So these 3 together, and they've done their runner's choice bit now. It's just a case of, they know they've all got the same rest of the course, basically. They know they've all got the same controls now, so it's a case of who's going to take the lead, how fast you're going to push it, and those 3 guys leading now, they know one of them is not going to make it through to the final. So you're going to start getting a bit of mind games, especially as now we're kind of going to head down the hill again, and we will see if we can see them split up. But it looks like Wojtek Kral and Jerker Lusel have put on a little bit of a spurt, possibly dropping the Swiss athlete currently. So Wojtek Kral, Jerker Lusel currently at the beginning, but they are splitting up, going down this hill.
Here you have the option to take different route choices. See that here. And you can avoid the stairs if you go around in one of the ways, more to the east, which might be good, but let's see.
Let's see what it looks like when they get to control number 7, because this could be a really, really decisive one. As they get in there, Wojtek Kral punches that control. Ricardo Rankin is there as well, now dipping underneath through the little kind of alleyways here. Whoa, bumping into some people. But Wojtek Kral is leading as they come into the arena run through. So they'll run through this arena, and Jerker Lusel is right by him as well, really trying to kind of make that up that ground. So it's still the same top 3 as they head through the arena passage, and they've only got 4 more controls to go now. There is some route choice though, and we're going to watch from control 10 to 11 to see if they split up. It's a pretty easy one out, control 9 and control number 10, but then it will get a little bit more complicated. So they've just got punching a control off to the left, and we'll see what the decision they make 10 to 11, whether they split up again,
but the gap
and take
here
the risk
down
or not.
gap down to Pilström is quite big already, so I think it will be between those 3 guys here.
So this is control number 10, and they're all going to go here up the stairs. So they're all taking, yeah.
Now Pilström should have decided to choose differently, because it will be tough for him to get in contact again.
Yeah, and you can see him kind of going a bit slower up those stairs. He's not running up the stairs, he's using the kind of walking a bit more. So they will go up and then straight back down again, because we've got a little barrier basically in the way. But now Jukka Lysell has dropped off the back going up those stairs. It's a real test of the physicality here. And they've got 2 more controls to go. Here is the first one just around this corner. And then they've got 1 more control to go. And they'll know they've got a little bit of a gap on the Swede. So we've got Wojtek Kral. We've got Ricardo Rancan going to make it through probably, as they just hit the last straight here, punch the last control and into the finish. So Wojtek Kral, as expected, makes it through to the knockout sprint final, see if he can take his 3rd win on the World Cup circuit. Ricardo Rancan, the Swiss runner, fantastic race from him as well, and they just, both of them, got that gap over Lysell and Granqvist, who finished 3rd and 4th. So yeah, pretty exciting there. I am surprised that Granqvist didn't go the other way round from 10 to 11, because that's where you want to take a risk, is the end, where you feel like you're not going to be able to catch because of running. You're going to have to catch through a route choice.
And I mean, you have been there, you know how steep it is on the stairs. They have been running upstairs to control 1 already, so it is really the last chance for you to take a different option and maybe come back to the race. And when you have a gap of, let's say, 5 seconds, you just have to risk it, because it's not that there are bad runners up in top. You had Wojtek Kral, who won all of the knockout sprints so far, so you have to take risk in a situation like that. And maybe they were already at the limit before physically and didn't really have the time to read that route choice on beforehand. So it's not that easy as it seems when you're sitting in front of the TV, but there would have been a chance at least.
Yeah, maybe, but if you may have already decided to kind of go up that way anyway, and it just so happened that everyone has kind of chosen the same. So, and you may actually, you may back yourself on making it up those stairs quicker. You're looking around at the guys around you, and maybe you think, actually, I think I can make up some ground on that same route. So, you never really know. So, this was the routes into Control 7. It's hard to see amongst all the buildings. GPS coverage is a bit tricky. But yeah, so 1A, not a surprise Wojtek Kral through. Ricardo Rancan, a surprise or not? What would you say?
Hard to say. Not really when you look at the results he had at test, like at the Swiss Championships. He was quite good there, but and maybe in this field here, where you didn't have the most experienced runners in a knockout sprint, beside Wojtek Kral, of course, it was possible. I mean, it would have been as big as of a surprise if Pilström or Granqvist, or Heikkinen would have made it. So maybe not a surprise now.
Okay, so we're straight on to the second semi-final, and we'll find out who the next 2 guys are who will join Wojtek Kral and Ricardo Rancan in the final. We just look along the list here. We had Joey Haddon with Lukas Liland, Matthias Kiberts, Søren-Antoine Erdem, Dag Blanchen, and we've also got Luca Basset in here as well. So we've got the likes of Joey Haddon, the Swiss sprint champion, second in the last knockout sprint in Switzerland. We've got youngsters Lukas Liland, who was only just qualified in 12th place. We've also got Matthias Kiberts, of course. Seems like a veteran of the circuit now, defending European sprint champion, but they're here ready to make their decision, A, B or C. And really, we didn't see it split up the athletes the first time rounds, so we're not really expecting it to do so again in this semi-final, but it's just to make sure they actually do some orienteering and they're reading the map, and that is what is going to get you through to this, because if you accidentally go to the wrong control, then you know that is your race pretty much over. So they will just have surveyed all the options A, B and C, and we'll see which one they have chosen. Joey Hadorn certainly has gone for C, Luca Basse for A, and of course they won't know what the athletes alongside them will have chosen, and there's some kind of nervous faces, I think, on the start line here as they get ready to set off here for our second semi-final. And we've got an even split of the runner's choice. I'm sure the planners will be happy with that. Anyway, they are off, unfurling their maps, and they will head out of the arena once again. And we did see some route choices the first time up to this first control, but not today. They are all going to go exactly the same way here. And they are out into the terrain. We've got a couple of Swiss and a couple of Norwegians here. In fact, 5 Swiss and 5 Norwegians qualified for the semi-finals, which was pretty impressive, and they're already kind of pushing and racing up here. And looks like the Dane is leading the way. In fact, he is. Søren Tønne Erdem leading the way. He qualified in first place in his quarter-final.
He's really setting a high pace here. I don't know if the others are happy with that. I mean, you could kind of have an agreement to not push too hard in the uphill here. It would be easier for everyone, but he really wants to play that card and maybe make the others a bit nervous here in the beginning and force them to kind of a mistake, or at least force them to go the same speed as he is doing.
Well, Joey Hadorn is able to keep up with that pace. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost, you get tactics like a track race, in athletics now. Like, do you really go from the gun, or do you kind of sit back and then make it a last lap burnout? And that's really what the decisions you've got to make there. But it looks like the Dane has been pushing it out, and Joey Hadorn able to keep up. Matthias Kibert further behind there. And so it is an even split, as we said, of the runner's choice this time. So they'll be kind of darting around and wanting to make sure they kind of get the right control. They're not put off by everybody else. They kind of focus on their own orienteering, and we can see them going in and out of all these walls by the castle. And do you use this point in the runner's choice to try and make an attack, or do you wait until you're back on the same loop again?
I mean, it's early in the race, and you have seen the other options. You know that maybe it was quite hard to decide which one to take. So you know that all of them are quite similar to when it comes to the time or distance. So I don't think that they are thinking about attacking there. I think their hope is to not lose and end up in the group again. Maybe have a good position in the group. And just not lose time. And I think, you really don't want to end up in the situation we see Basse here with a gap to the rest of the group, because this will be hard to close again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. This is going to be really, really hard to close. So we've kind of got the group of 5 now in the front, with still the Dane and the 2 Swiss kind of towards the front of that group, with the 2 Norwegians further behind. But looks like Joey Hadorn has hit the front, with Matthias Kibert in second here, and all the figures pretty close together at this point. But soon we're going to get to this route choice as they head back down the hill. We'll see if they split up. They didn't really seem inclined to do so. They didn't do so on the way up this hill towards the castle. And we'll see whether they're going to do so before. But you're thinking maybe now, where do you want to be in the pack? Do you want to be towards the front? Do you want to be kind of second? where do you want to be the one kind of forced to make the decisions, or do you want to be the one in control of the pace? It is certainly interesting, but the two Swiss are still towards the front of the pack, and possibly, well, it's hard to really to tell if they're making a gap, but they're going now a different route down. They're going all the way down the steps. This is not what we saw for the first of the semi-finals, where they were heading down. Well, if they headed down the steps, it was a different lot. This is where they came up the hill to control number one, and they've decided to go back down. And this is going to start getting really, really painful to go down those steps, slowing you down. You've got to keep that concentration. And you can see the Dane, Søren Odom, is dropping off the back there of the group. So it looks like 5 is kind of down to 4 with the 2 Swiss and then the 2 Norwegians there. So they were heading down. This is control number 7. They've got to find this little gap through the building, try and avoid bashing into walls, bashing into spectators, bashing into locals. And now we see Matthias Kiburtz has hit the front, and it's still the 2 Swiss, 1 and 2, but kind of shopping and changing the order. But yeah, this definitely looks like they're now down to a group of 4 with the Dane and the Frenchman off the back here. So now they've still got some kind of choices to make, as we said, and controls 10 to 11.
And I think now this time it's a bit different because the gap is not as big as before. If the Norwegians feel that they're physically in touch with the others, they can keep up the level, then there's no need to choose differently to the second last control. But if they feel that, okay, we might not have a chance only physically, then they should choose the other route now.
So let's see what happens. They're just about to go punch this 10th control, and do they continue and go up the stairs? Well, the 2 Swiss, and they all do. Okay, so they've got this last climb up these stairs and then back right and back down and back round. This is to avoid an artificial barrier that's been put in, and you can see the Swiss are just looking that bit better than both of the Norwegians, and then they can open it out again here. And Joey Hadon has gone ahead of Matthias Kiburtz, and now you get the gap from the Swiss just looking a little bit better physically going up those steps in this very final part of the second semi-final. So 2 to go through, and it looks at the moment to be the 2 Swiss. They will go punch the second to last control, and then they are nearly there into the final part of the course. Got to go navigate these narrow streets, and looks like Joey Hadon and Matthias Kiburtz just looking behind them, but they're both going to be okay. And the 2 Swiss are into the final. Matthias Kiburtz and Joey Hadon, both of them are through. So 2 from 2 Swiss into the final here of this knockout sprint. And I think this is Matthias Kiburtz's first World Cup knockout sprint final. Can you believe he's not made it before?
I mean, it's a bit different here. It's so much about the speed in the very end. And if you think back to 2019 in Laufen, it was a bit unlucky there, choosing the wrong route to the very last control when the others were, when I think it was Ralph Street backing out from the control again and passing him. So this time it felt that they just are a little bit stronger physically in the very end. Joey Hadon looked really good in the uphill there, and also Matthias Kiburtz, and they were just opening the gap more and more. And then I got the feeling in the steps there in the very end that the Norwegians, they kind of didn't believe in their chance anymore. So maybe it would have been good to back out. But the thing is, it's so narrow there. When you really have to use the passage through the arena to read this route before, because it's so narrow, it's slippery, it's hard to read the map and see the different route choices and really decide if you're tired and you're already behind and maybe just had the time to take the backs of the others.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it's any different in this third semi-final. So we've already got Wojtek Kral, Ricardo Rankan as Joey Hadon, Matthias Kiburtz through to the final. We've got the last group of 6, and they are here lining up. And Kasper Fosse, possibly one of the favourites for this race, won both here the qualifying round and the quarter-final. Third in the Swiss Sprint Champs last week. We've got Havard Sandstad Eidsmo making a major champs debut from Norway. We've got a legend of orienteering, Daniel Hubman, defending European sprint champion. We've got the second of the two Czechs, Jonas Hubacek, who won his quarter-final. We've got Adon Heimdal from Norway, and we've got Jonas Egger as well. He also made the semi-finals in the Swiss knockout sprint back in 2019. And Daniel Hubman also hasn't made a knockout sprint final in a World Cup, so we will see if he is going to be able to do that again today, joining Matthias Kubertz in that one. But they're just about to make their choice. And this is something they've... Sorry, yeah?
For Hubman, I think, he's both reigning world and European champion, but I think his quality is really to push hard and have a constant speed during the whole race, and maybe this stop and go or push really hard here in the end, it doesn't suit him as good as a normal technical sprint. So that might be a reason why we haven't seen him in the final yet.
Get ready to start. Line up at the start.
So they've made their decisions. And they are ready, some nervous faces here as they just look ahead and get ready for this race. Again, top two to make it through to the final. The pigeons better get out of the way because there's about to be 6 very quick orienteers running straight at them. And here we go, the third of the 3 semi-finals in the men's competition. Top 2 only to make it through. And Adon Heimdal has hit the front there. And do they all go the same way? No, they don't. Daniel Hubman is going the other way up to... Oh, no, goodbye. And that's... Well, that could prove decisive, I reckon, at the start of this. There's a few seconds lost there. Changing his mind. He had, you could tell he got to that junction, he hadn't really decided.
I wonder if he was reading on the wrong side of the map to the second loop. Because then this direction would have been good. Because they have a map change, they have to turn the map after the first loop, and it might be the case that he was reading on the wrong side of the map there. I don't know. Could be an explanation at least.
Yep, we will not know until maybe we hear from Daniel Hubman afterwards. But there's already a gap. They are already down to 5, all going up these steps. We will see them here. This is kind of the top of the hill. This is the castle, and it looks like it's Kasper Fosse leading this group. We've got 3 Norwegians in this third semi-final, and I think that's a really big testament to what the Norwegians have been doing really over the past kind of 3-4 years in starting to develop their younger athletes and really getting a sprint specialism in their team, which is really, really impressive. So, and that's paying off with those 3 Norwegians leading at the moment.
And you see a difference between the Norwegian team and other teams, because in the Norwegian teams you have really those runners who don't run the sprint races like Olav Lundanes, or don't run them as often. Olav Lundanes, Magne Dali, they are not here. And in other teams you don't have this kind of split national teams where you have the sprinters and you have the the only forest orienteers.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Swiss team, for example, and certainly all the best of the Swiss team, they all do both. They all do forest and they all do sprint. Maybe there's a change coming with kind of the next generation, but certainly at the moment they all seem to do the same.
Yeah, for sure there is a change coming. You see all the runners here, or many of the runners here, they're really young in the Norwegian team, so they have a great sprint team, of course, but it's just very clear that the more experienced runners, they prefer the forest.
Yeah, well, I wonder if there's a bit of a part of thinking, you're younger, you want to run the shorter distances, you've not kind of yet trained up that for the longer distances and got the experience required that you need in the forest to be able to perform at the highest level at a major championship. So that's one thing that's particularly, I've heard a lot from kind of people I've been talking to over the last 18 months, that they almost feel like they want to start out on the sprint and then end up doing kind of more forest, because they don't quite think that transition from junior to senior can be a really tough one. Some people have managed it incredibly successfully, like Simona Abersold, like Kasper Fosse, but it doesn't come easy for everybody.
And here we see, I think that Jonas Ecker, that wasn't a good route choice he made there.
No.
He's the first one taking this. You see that he lost a lot of time here, so now there's a good chance for the three ahead to make it to the final, at least two of them.
And here's Daniel Hubman also taking that route choice. I mean, what do you do if you're him, you know? You just kind of back off a bit?
Yeah, you have seen,
you know,
there
it's not
that he's not pushing very hard anymore. This how he turned there at the control, he knows that there's no chance, and there's a race coming tomorrow as well, so I think he gave up.
So we have now got a gap with two of the Norwegians through here. And they've really managed to make that push, kind of coming down off this hill and in this last section after the runner's choice. And they're both in there, Kasper Fosse, and I think it's Auden Heimdal as well, the other Norwegian. But they will go again through this little cut through and then through there. And as they're on their way out, maybe they'll have had a chance to look at where the rest of that group of six are. And either way, they've got a gap, and the two athletes are really pushing each other here as we see them through this point.
And here you saw that Kasper Fosse, he really took the chance to read the map, and beforehand, that's exactly, I mean, it's almost the only point here where you got some time, and you should use that time to read the map.
Yeah, because you've got to try and see if you can look ahead for where the difficult bits are. You know, you've got a very easy control, number 9, straight out of this kind of arena passage. It's very, very easy. You can see the two Norwegians ahead now. But then it's a little bit trickier, and you just kind of want to make sure you've got it clear in your head what you've got to do so you don't lose any seconds in the hesitation. But these two Norwegians really look very, very strong. They just kind of seem to have picked up the pace this point. And let's see now what they do in terms of the route choice. Yeah, well, I think it's probably sensible for them both to go the same way here. Yeah. You don't really want to drop time. You just want to stay with the leaders at this point. We'll see if any of the others behind go a different way.
And on the map, it looks definitely shorter, this route, so it's not a surprise that the ones in the lead will choose this one. So because it's safe, it's kind of safe. You know that if you lose time, you lose maybe 1 or 2 or 3 seconds or whatever, but why take the risk to take the route that looks, when you look at the distance, longer than the other one? And the gap here is so big that if they don't do a mistake, they will make it.
And Kasper Fosse just attacking down that hill is really, really impressive, and we need to watch out for that when we come to the final, which I'm sure he will be in. He's just got the last control to go now, and these two Norwegians will make it through to the final. So Kasper Fosse makes it through, winning this semi-final. And we've also got Auden Heimdal as well. So those two Norwegians making it through. There's the gap back to the third Norwegians, Eidsmo, and then Jonas Hubacek from the Czech Republic in there as well. So, well, we now know our finalists, our 6 finalists. From the first semi-final, Wojciech Kral, Ricardo Rankan. From the second semi-final, Joey Hadon, Matthias Kiberts. From the third semi-final, Kasper Fosse and Auden Heimdal. And there was some painful faces there. It's only 7 minutes of running. It's so quick. But you've got some significant climb, all the steps in there, and impressive running from everybody here, as we see Daniel Hubman just kind of taking it easy into the finish. Now his priority will be recovering for tomorrow, where, as you said before, Jonas, you know, he's got a much better track record. He's got a fantastic track record over the individual sprint, and certainly I think that's where his talents lie. So he will be focusing on the recovery.
Let's see if he will be turning the map. Maybe you won't see it. No, we don't.
We will have 2 Norwegians, 3 Swiss runners, and 1 from the Czech Republic in the big final.
Yeah, what we have seen this 3 qualification races is you have a very, I mean, the gaps opened due to the physical differences, I think, mostly. We had some of the runners like Hubman or Ecker choosing different route choices and dropping off because of that. But when it really was in head-to-head, like in the second heat or the third heat, the feeling was that it was mostly the physical differences in the uphill that they could open a gap and come. And once the gap was open, it was, I mean, it's so hard to get in contact again. Then you would really need to take a risk, and I haven't seen anyone really taking this risk.
No, well, yeah, you said the gap was so much, it never really came down to a sprint finish. It was always pretty clear which of the two were going to go through. So, you know, there was no need. There is maybe an option. Well, you could go one of 2 route choices at the very end, but, you know, you don't need to risk it when you know it's clear. But, okay, so we now know our 6 in the final for the men's competition. We're going to move over to the women's competition. They have exactly the same courses as the men, so we've already been through that. It's the same challenges that we have with the runner's choice. And let's look first at this first semi-final. And this one, I mean, it's got 2 of the favourites in, 2 massive names here with Tove Alexanderson and Simona Abersold. And Tove didn't run day before yesterday, in the sprint relay. She's been doing a lot of ski mountaineering in this winter, not much orienteering. Simona Abersold, the youngster, is going to be a big name. We've got Serena Kibberts, also from Switzerland. We've got 6 Swiss and 6 Swedes who have qualified for the semi-finals. Paula Gross, and here she won her quarter-final. And from Great Britain, the only Brit to make it through to the semi-finals, Megan Carter-Davis. The Brits only been able to take 3 athletes to this European Champs. I think I believe they're the only country affected by national COVID regulations, meaning that they've only been able to take 3 ones who basically live outside of the UK, or Megan got special permission to go. And we've got Lotta Kahola as well. She made it to the semi-final last time in our knockout sprint in Switzerland, so familiar for her to be in a semi-final. So we have our decisions again, and it's just kind of, I feel this also just adds a bit to the nervousness of a knockout sprint as well. You know, you've got, it feels like there's a lot of pressure on this decision that you're making, even if that's probably not really the case.
And it looked very interesting when you followed Simona Abersold. It looked as if she had her left hand on the A option and then comparing it to the other. So it seemed that she wants to have the left hand on the option she thinks is the fastest. But let's see if she changed it in the last second there, or if she stayed with A option.
Yeah, we will see. You know, she did have A. So you're right, well spotted there. And quite a lot choosing A this time, which is surprising, as we thought that was the least likely ones people would pick. But I guess that's a good thing for the course planners. So they are out straight away. And
if we take what we got to know from the 3 first heats in the men's, it will be, for me, we have 2 very, very clear favorites here, because they're not only, Simona Abersold and Tove Alexanderson are maybe the best orienteers in the world, but not only technically, but also physically. And in a physical race like this one here, with that much climbing as well, it will be very tough to beat them.
Yeah, and the two of them have gone what we think is the better route choice up here as well, and they've already started making a little bit of a gap as well, with Simona Abersold really trying to push Tove Alexandersson. But Alexandersson was knocked out of the Swedish knockouts in the semi-finals. She's not been focusing on her orienteering in the last year or so. But I mean, you should never count her out. She's got multiple world champs medals for an absolute reason, and she should always be counted as one of the favourites, as we said. So let's see how these route choices pay off as we get into this first control, as they go ahead all the way up these steps. And actually, Simona Abersold here has got quite a good gap on Tove Alexandersson. That's more than I was expecting, and she's really pushed hard at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, and then you only compare to Tove Alexandersson, but if you compare to the third position, which is, I mean, the gap between the second and the third is the important one, and this one is already quite big. So now she has a good position in the race, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And we would expect the women's races to be more spread out anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just some of the gaps that we saw in the quarterfinals between, people winning their quarterfinals by 8 seconds, by 19 seconds. Eleanor Ross won hers, but there feels like there's some kind of, as we were saying, safety seconds being put in, some kind of hesitations, making sure you're getting it right, and you really have to be on top of the navigation here. So that's pretty interesting as we see them through this runner's choice section, who will be split up, really being forced to focus. You've got to get right in the zone. You can't have any of these nerves as you head around these controls right at the top here at the castle. And even, a few steps one way or the other. So that's pretty significant there, I think.
Looked
and all
like
the
a
others
hesitation by Alexandersson there.
Yeah, I think so.
Before. Let's see how this ended. There she is.
Oh, and she goes a different way, yeah. Alexandersson was running C, and she came a different route choice. Oh, yeah, that was not good. Just looking at what's the C option is, she definitely should have come down with the others, and that is certainly a mistake there for Alexandersson.
I think she didn't see the stairs you could take down to the road, and just was running all the way around. But maybe we will see some GPS tracking. That would help, definitely. But you can see already there, they've all gone this same way. This is not really the popular way we saw the men go on this, I think. But we've seen this gap, and this is an impressive gap that Simona Abersold has got over the rest of the field, over Tove Alexandersson. You can see her coming through there, and then it is kind of the rest of the group here. So Abersold and Alexandersson, as we would expect. Everybody else through now, with Paula Gross, with Selina Kiberts, Megan Carter-Davis, Lotta Kohola there in making that 6 within 18 seconds. And now they're going to head back down the hill. And they've got some decision making at this point, which way they go down the hill. We can catch them up here. But here again is the back of the pack. Oh. As they punch the 6th control, and they are choosing to take this downhill, avoiding the steps, which you think is a good decision here. Paula Gross there at the front of the group. So actually they've gone a different way to the two leaders, Simona Abersold and Tove Alexandersson. So different routes there as they go down the hill. And they're heading now towards the 7th control and then back to the arena. And in fact, it looks like Tove Alexandersson has caught up she has caught up there, exactly. And almost Simona Abersold, I think, kind of almost running past that little cut through that you've got to take to get into that control. But she looks more in control now. Alexandersson, I think, just looking back behind her to see what the gap was. But, not
smooth through that control, and Abersold able to get the gap again. So she'd prepared much better the way out into the next control, and that is what you don't really want to see. Now she's got to fight again to kind of catch back up with Abersold. But it is the two favourites from the semi-final in the lead as they head through the arena, and you can again see both of them just how much they're looking at their maps there. Paula Gross in third place.
It would be interesting to see where exactly Alex Andersson could close the gap. If it was only in the technique, the downhill running and the stairs, or if there was any other reason for that.
Yeah, she did look good going downhill, but we could also see Simona Abersold just kind of hesitating a bit, not quite getting the little route into the 7th control, the little gap by the water fountain, and the two have gone different routes here into this 10th control. So now we'll see, do they take the stairs? Yeah, we haven't seen anybody doing anything different. I think you, as you were mentioning before, Jonas, the alternative route round here goes so far off the red line that it really looks like it's not a good idea.
Yeah, and I mean, why should they have such a big gap here. If Tuve chooses the same as Simona, then she can take her back. She has an extra safety for her last controls. She's not only her own orienteering, but she can also take the back of Simona, and there is just, why should she take any risk and take another route here? And it seems that she is quite much faster in the downhill, Tuve Alexandersson. I think we'll have to bear that in mind for when the final comes, and they're going to be in kind of the same, they're going to be running in the same area. We're going to have some kind of similar challenges to what we've already seen, so that is going to be really, really crucial, as you see. But as pretty much expected here on paper for this first semi-final of the three, it is Simona Abersold and Tove Alexandersson. They can look behind. Very, very easy qualification for these two, really pushing it around the whole way. But Simona Abersold maybe will have take some confidence into the final by knowing she's won that semi-final. So Paula Gross into third, Sorina Kiberts into fourth. You said that Simona can take some confidence out of this heat here, but I think it's also, don't forget, I mean, Tove Alexandersson, there were many times we had the feeling that there is a gap compared to Simona, so she gets the feeling that even if there is a gap opening, I still have a chance to close a gap again, and I'm sure that she has quite a good feeling as well out of this heat here of this semi-final.
Yeah, I think you're right in that. Yeah, she definitely was able to close it, but I felt like Simona had a better orienteering, seemed to have a better orienteering race technically, and had the fewer hesitations that we saw when they were in one of those alleyways. But Tove Alexandersson's speed can kind of make up for that, so that's certainly going to prove to be, it's going to prove interesting, I think, in this final. They will face, be head-to-head again. They're head-to-head in the quarters, in the semis, and in the finals. That's how it's going to be working for this knockout sprint competition. So they will be head-to-head. They will be kind of sick of each other by the end of today, having both faced each other 3 times.
They might have been that before already. I don't know. It's not the first time they compete against each other.
No, and it won't be the last either, I am sure. So
let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so, because they're a great matchup in orienteering, and we want to see lots of these head-to-head competitions because it really is fantastic. Okay, let's move on to the start list for this semi-final number 2. And yeah, we've got a good mix of nations in this one. We've got a good mix of kind of older and newer names, with particularly Hannah Lundberg on there, number 301, who is still a junior and will still even be a junior next year as well, but has absolutely broken onto the scene with fantastic results in the Swedish national championships, in both the sprint and the knockout sprint. She did fantastically, so such a name to watch out for in the future. We have Natalia Gempela. You know, she is a very experienced Russian now. She didn't run in a sprint relay a couple of days ago. She had a baby about 4.5 months ago, so we'll see what her sprint speed is like. We've got Andrea Benjaminsen there, Sabina Hausfeld, who's made both finals, in the knockout sprints that we've had so far. And we have Sara Hagström as well, final leg runner for the sprint relay team. We missed Vera Klemetinen in there for Finland, making her major senior champs debut.
This will be a very interesting heat. I think it's quite equal between the runners, and it will be especially exciting to see Hanna Lundberg. She was just so fast in the Swedish championships, both especially individual, but also in the knockout sprint. And as you said, she is still a junior and will even be still a junior next year. So definitely a name to get used to in this International Orienteering Championships.
Oh, I think you could see Natalia Gempela almost kind of a hand hovering over B. She has ended up choosing A. It was good technique from Sabine House that you could see her kind of pointing to the two different courses that she was kind of choosing between, kind of matching up what was going to go on. But again, we've got a mixture of A and C being chosen here. Only one B for Hausfeld, but you know, it hasn't really split up the runners that much. It hasn't played that much of an impact. It's just forcing them to do their orienteering and kind of making them a bit nervous as well. So second semi-final out of 3 underway here. And a decision straight away as to what they do. Oh, and this is the first time we've seen them all go straight on at this point. So they will all probably head straight up the hill. You know, it's a case of, I guess it's a case when you step off the start line, do you want to have an aggressive start to be leading? Do you want to be the one making that decision, or do you kind of want to be hanging back at that point and being the one not to make a decision? But Hanna Lundberg has gone to the front, and she is actively leading out that group, and I think that was Andrea Benjaminsen going a different way up this hill towards number 1.
And it was interesting to see, because in both cases you could see Natalia Gempela hesitating for like a millisecond, just should she go and follow the other runner. It was so like this the first time when Hanna Lundberg continued, and it was like this the second time as well. But interesting that the junior is setting the pace here and everyone else is following on the same route.
Yeah, well, big respect here. You know, that's exactly. She's not running with any fear at all, and in fact, she's just hitting the front. She's taking control, and that is what you really have to do if you want to make it through. You know, we think this could be the tightest of the 3 semi-finals, and you've got to put yourself in contention. Otherwise, what are you doing on the start list? What are you doing on the start line? So really, really great to see that. And there we go. She goes through that control first with Andrea Benjaminsen in seconds. We also had Sara Hagström quite close to the front there. And certainly now it looks from the beginning, and it even looks more so now. We've got the Finn and the Russian, Vera Klemetinen and Natalia Gempela, kind of dropping off the back of this group. But now we will wait and see how things look when they get to the end of this runner's choice section. This was a different route choice taken by Benjaminsen, but it was kind of much for muchness. It was all pretty much the same there. So behind Gempela.
And now we were at option A follow to this control, where I in the beginning mentioned it's a bit more map reading to get to the control. You have to hit the stairs and then this small bridge there.
Yeah, and then you've got kind of the further control here, but you know, everybody will have to go down these stairs towards control number 4, which is here, just here. And we can see, I think that's, yeah, Hanna Lundberg is way out in the front, followed by Andrina Benjaminsen, so that is pretty impressive.
It is, and I really like this. She's not afraid, she's taking the lead here, she's going her pace. Maybe, I mean, she's not afraid to push very hard. It's easy if you're not experienced in this field to just stick with the others and try to look what they are doing, but she's really setting the pace and wants to have control, and she definitely has it.
Yeah, she really does, as she kind of comes around this corner, and she's making it look very easy, the tall figure, and she's followed by Hausfeld as well, so those two, but you know, quite a gap here between, an equal kind of gap between first and second, second and third, and those three really for me look like they are going to be the ones battling it out for those 2 spots in the final. So they are kind of going to be making their way back down this hill now. Again, you've got to make some decisions about, do you use the steps, do you not? This is control number 6, and they're going to go kind of down this big long staircase here that we've seen a lot of them coming up to. And you can see the 2 leaders just there in the front. Or the 3 leaders, I was going to say. There we go, there they are, all 3 together. And it looks like Hanna Lundberg is not as good at the stairs, maybe. I don't blame her, I hate going downstairs. So you need a lot of concentration and an attack to do that. But no, and someone's on the floor. Andrina Benjaminsen is on the floor. But straight back up again. It's a very tight corner there, very, very slippy. But now these 3 are all together, and it is going to be 2 from these 3. But Hanna Lundberg has fought her way to the front here, and is going to be leading as they go back round through into the arena. I'm sure they're just going to go through. That was a bit of a scream from somebody there, not really sure what was going on. And they're going to go back through the arena, and it will be 2 from these 3 to make it through into the final. And Hanna Lundberg, there we go, you can see them turning over their map. It doesn't look like she's kind of looking at her map maybe slightly less than some of the others, I think, at this point. And they seem to have dropped Hausfeld.
This passage in between there, the last controls before they're running through the arena, was really showing the difficulty of this course. It's slippery, so you have to be careful. You go into these small passages, have to back out again. There are other runners coming. You have to be careful to not miss the next passage, and all the time read the map at the same time as well. So it's just the risk when you're a bit behind that you follow the back of the next runner, but you kind of forget to read the map yourself as well.
Okay, so they're here into control number 10. Only a few more now to go, and these 2 have got a gap here. Oh, this is the first time we've seen someone taking anything different. This is potentially a risk here for Benjaminsen, but I think Hausfeld is also going the same way. Ooh, and Lundberg, she looks like that. Yeah, she does look tired as she goes up those steps. And now she's all alone because other people have gone other ways, and you really, you know, are you better at pushing when you're with other people? So this is going to be interesting to see how it matches up when they get to number 11, and we're going to see for the first time what it is like as yeah, here's Hanna Lundberg, and she looks tired.
You could really feel the pain when you were looking at her going up the stairs there. Yeah, it will be interesting.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen anyone go any different, and the control is just round here. So it's not good. So that's a mistake there, I think, from Lundberg. So here are our two leaders. We've got Andrina Benjaminsen, we've got Sabine Hauswirth, and they are going to be the two of those three to go through with making that choice there right at the very end. In fact, Gempele moves into third spot. So Andrina Benjaminsen is going to qualify first here, and Sabine Hauswirth is going to be the second to qualify. Goodness me, and I do feel sorry for Hannah Lundberg trying to, she took that route, the others went different, and it looked so painful for her. But, the others took the risk and it paid off.
Yeah, of course, but I'm not sure if she would have made it even if the others would have followed the same route. She looked very, very tired, but still I liked the way she was orienteering. She was very aggressive in her style. She was doing her own race. She really wanted to get to the final, but I think she looked so tired in the stairs there. So I think that even if she would have been in the group with the other two, it would have been difficult for her.
Yeah, it really would have been tricky, but I think it's a name we're going to see a lot of in the next few years. As we mentioned, she's still a junior. She's still a junior next year as well. So the fact that she's come here and been getting some great results at national level and now also international level as well, I think we're really just going to be seeing a lot of Hannah Lundberg over the next few years. I really hope so. So we have Andrina Benjaminsen and Sabine Hauswirth, who maybe paced it a little bit better. They were able to make the most of doing that route choice. They both chose to go the other way, orienteering all the way till the end, and then that kind of paid off. And Benjaminsen, we'll see her just kind of losing her footing going round the corner there. And
you said that they might have paced it a bit better, but still I think they were a bit shocked about the fact that they had a gap in the beginning up to Hannah Lundberg, and in the end, give her 2-3 more years and she will be able to keep this speed all the way to the finish, and then it will be very tight when they split up in a route like this. Maybe it was faster to go around, but then it would still have been very tight. So Yeah, well, one to watch for the future, but congrats to Andrina Benjaminsen and Sabine Hauswirth who are getting through into that final. So we move on to the final semi-final, the last semi-final. There we go, too many finals in there. And another 6 women to line up for 2 spots only to make it through into the knockout sprint final. Here's Elena Ross. She was 3rd in the last knockout sprints. And so she's a big name, won her quarterfinal, by 19 seconds. Fantastic. Caroline Olsen there, looking like she's got lots of energy on the start line. Tunisiana Sikova is the Czech youngster, 2nd in the last knockout sprint, so she's got some good knockout form. Lena Strand, great all-round runner. Elina Gempele was the junior sprint world champion. There we go. And so she's got some great form there as well. And Wilma von Krusensterne in there too, to make up the 6 to be there. And who are we really looking at for this semi-final? It's a tough one, actually. I would say Elena Roos, definitely one of the big favorites here. I would set her as one of the biggest favorites for the whole competition, together with Tove Alexandersson and Simona Abersold. Then also, of course, Lina Strand, very strong. Teresa Janosikova, she was 2nd at the World Cup 2019. She was really making her breakthrough directly before the Corona break. So, but then Caroline Olsen, she had some problems with injuries, so it will be tough for her, I guess, especially because it's such a physical race. And Wilma von Krusensterne, she is very strong as well, very young. If I would pick 2 here, or 3 big favorites, I would go for Roos, Janosikova and Strand, but there is place for Gempele, Krusensterne and Olsen as well. This will be very interesting.
This really will be very interesting indeed. I think, Roos is a big favourite here, and she performed well in the sprint relay, in the qualifiers. She won her qualifying heat. She won the quarterfinal as well. For me, she is a she is a big favourite for this race. But yeah, as you were saying, there's a lot of room for. Oh, and again, they're all going to go the same way here. There is room for someone to kind of sneak in that second spot for me. But it looks like Ros has headed straight to the front, really taking control of this one. Caroline Olsen and Teresa Janasikova up there as well, trying to get right to the front, be in with those decision makers. Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how they get out the front, whether they want to be just kind of following what everybody else is doing, sitting back at this point, or whether they want to be like making those decisions and being in control and setting the pace. And just look at how steep these stairs are and narrow, and it's got to be really tough to get, start with that uphill start. And, we can see that it is Eleanor Ros and Caroline Olsen who have hit the front at this point.
Maybe just to get back to the last heat, we had a change there. Sabine Hauswirt has a mispunch, so we get in Natalia Gempele to the final instead, just to give you this information as well.
She missed control number 2, and that was on the the runner's choice section. So that shows you've really got to be on your game at that point. So that was tough. And actually, Hauswirt was the only one who had the B decision, the B forking for that point. So we will gain Natalia Gempele. But Eleanor Ros looks like she has got a gap at this point on this field. There we go. You can see on screen confirmation the disqualification of Sabine Hauswirt. So Natalia Gempele advances.
A small hesitation here for Krusenstjerna and Eline Gempele.
So yeah, a reminder of those are the decisions they made on the forkings and how it's playing out with the GPS.
It's hard to see from the GPS who it went to which option.
That is everybody on option B though, just sneaking around that corner. And as you can see, that this group of 3 on that choice look to have kind of dropped a little bit behind. They'll all be matched up again. Oh, and Eleanor Ros has gone kind of, looks like she did a Tove Alexanderson and kind of run all the way around. So she was on the A forking, which is not the one Alexanderson had, but yeah, I wouldn't really expect that route choice there at this point. But now they're splitting up again as they kind of go across the bridge. So you either go, this group will go here across the bridge, the others will kind of take some steps around and go up to the control.
And it's the route we have seen in the men's race. I think it was a bit better to go around and not over the bridge there. Let's see how it will develop here. Yeah, advantage for the 2 Swedish runners, Olsson and Strand.
And Ros there has some catching up to do. So yeah, those 2 Swedish runners have made it good choices, very fast through this runner's choice section, and then looking kind of good on that route choice up into the 5th control as well. And now most of them choosing to avoid the steps on their way back down the hill there. Now we see that Ros has been able to catch up. I think this is her real top speed at work, and you can see just how much she's catching on Strand there going down the hill, and that's really impressive there from Switzerland's Eleanor Ros.
You can see that she really lets her feet go here and it's not breaking any step. You could feel that Strand has a bit more problem to get up to speed, and here we see a mistake by Caroline Olsson.
Yeah. And the others are not too far behind at the moment either.
Right, another mistake by Elena Roos there. And now it will be tight when they come out again.
Yeah, very tight, and she's got to just kind of try, after a few little hesitations, you've really got to try and be quite disciplined to get back into your orienteering games, kind of move on from that and be able to attack the last section of the race. And this looks like it could well be the tightest at the moment of all the semi-finals, I think. There's that group of 3, but 4 and 5 are not too far behind at this point. Elena Roos, though, you know, showing her speed, has been able to just take a gap out of the 2 Swedish athletes. A small gap, but a gap nevertheless. So we have Roos, we have Strands, we have Olsen, we have von Krusenferner, and we have Janasikova as well. So those 5 still all together pretty much at this point. And it's really going to be interesting to see, you know, do they go the same way? Do they go that different way? To controls 10 and 11. We have now seen that there is some difference.
Oh, they made a mistake there.
I was going to say, I thought I could see them go running there. They just, I'm not even sure what that was, but that was a huge mistake from both the Swedish runners. Just coming out of control 9, they just didn't take that route up the hill, and now they're all going to go the same way back again. This is going to be interesting to see after big mistake from both those Swedish athletes, and the gap is quite a huge one now. Caroline Olsen really trying to attack it to get back to those 3, but now it looks like Janasikova is kind of now in that second position. No, it's actually von Krusenferner in that second position, but Olsen is chasing fast. Now they've all gone this same way. They've avoided the steps to take this route to number 11, and we will see what happens when they come out. In fact, we can see them just there, Elena Roos and the 4 of them all together. This is going to be the closest one yet, I think. So they're here. This is control number 11. They've got 1 more control to go on the last. They're all just kind of lining up. In fact, Lena Strands managed to catch a bit on the group. And this is going to be a sprint out here. Roos is in the front. Teresa Janasikova in second place. Oh, Janasikova, in fact, in first. And Elena Roos is going to miss out, I think, here. Janasikova from the Czech Republic has a sprint finish. And it's Vilma von Krusenferner who makes it into second spot, out sprinting Elena Roos here. And that is a big surprise for me, that Elena Roos does not make it into that final. And, you know, we end with the most dramatic semi-final, I think. Olsen and Strands were in such a good position after that arena passage, and they just made that mistake. And you can see just how pleased Janasikova is, and she's almost becoming, you know, she took the silver medal at the World Cup in Switzerland back in 2019. It feels like she's kind of becoming a bit of a knockout sprinter, and yeah, with the Czechs doing very, very well in that. So, goodness me, that was very tight and very exciting.
And it was kind of tough for Elena Roos because she didn't do any mistake. She was just the one in front and chased by the others, and my feeling was when the 2 Swedish runners, Olsson and Strand, did a mistake, that now it's quite easy for Roos. She will just keep in the lead and have control over the situations. But the others took her back. It was in a very clever way. It took her back, following her and playing out their speed in the very end. And Roos didn't have anything to answer with on the last meters.
Well, we remember that Elena Roos did make a few mistakes kind of in the middle part of the course, and then she had to work hard to catch back up. So maybe that took the sprint finish that we'd expect from her, took it out of her, basically. Yeah,
of course. I mean, she could have avoided to end up in this situation. Here she is in a group. She shouldn't let the others catch her again. But from this moment here, I mean, there was some small hesitation, but no real mistake. She made her mistake up on the top, but still she would have had the gap needed to get through all the way, was my feeling at least.
Yeah, yes, same here, same here. This is, yeah, a surprise to see these two, and yeah, one exciting race, and you can see those the two who've made it through to the final are so pleased with that result that they've done. Carolyn Olsen fought very, very hard to kind of get back in contention after that mistake from those two Swedes. So
and
yeah,
what
absolutely fantastic.
What we know now is you don't want to end up in a sprint against von Krusenstjerna and Janasikova.
No, well, Janasikova actually beat Eleanor Roos in the final of the knockout sprint in Laufen. So, you know, she's got form over that kind of sprint finish. But anyway, let's confirm those 6 women into the final. Tova Alexanderson, Simona Abersold, Aldrina Benjaminsen, Natalia Gempela, Teresa Janasikova and Vilma von Krusenstjerna are in. And we will go directly to the men's final. Jonas, talk us through the course.
Yes, new race and of course a new course as well. Now we start in this area with very narrow passages in the old town of Neuchâtel. 2 controls there, and then we have this uphill again. This time it's not the long stairs there, not for sure of course. You can take this route if you want to. Then you get up to this castle again, and then you will have to play with the same difficulties again when it comes to the route choice. You have this bridge or you have the stairs. Will you go back? Will you go all the way around? Going down the stairs might be quite slow. So you have to play with these different factors and come to your route choice in the end. But it's not, I mean, they go to the same area again. Now they're kind of familiar with it. They know, or they don't expect any artificial fences now because they've been there, they've seen the surroundings there. Control 7 is the TV control with the splits, and then we go down there. And from 7 to 8 there's an interesting route choice where you can go more to the south, or you can take this stairs again. And the course planners, they think it's better to go to the south, but let's see in the end. Here we have another option again, 2 different routes, either to the west or to the east. And then you have an arena passage, and again a second loop with 4 controls. Now the other way around compared to the first time they were here. We have seen that control, they have passed this one before. And interesting control 11 to 12 you will have again the last chance to make a difference. Should you back out or should you continue? But then you will have this very steep stairs you have to go down, and as we have seen before, it slows you down quite much to run down the stairs.
And then if you really wanted to take a risk, you could go the different ways around the building 12 to 13 as well.
Yes. And you have different stairs as well from 11 to 12 if you choose to go and take the stairs. So there are quite some options. Will be interesting. No forking here. I think that the runners expect it not to be forked because it has been like this the last World Cup race. And it seems that this is quite getting a standard that you have the runner's choice in the semi-final and then you have an unforked course in the final.
Yep, and as you can see them lining up here, you can see they don't have anything to choose from. They will know that it's just one race. They will all have the same controls, and it's going to be hopefully a really, really tactical one. So we've got Ricardo Rankan from Switzerland in there. We've got Wojtek Kral from the Czech Republic. As we said, won both the knockout sprints on the World Cup circuit so far. We've got the Swiss, Joey Hadorn, and he took the silver medal last time there was a knockout sprint at this level. Matthias Kibert's making his first knockout sprint final, always going to be a big contender. And we've also got Kasper Fosse in here and another Norwegian, Alden Heimdal. Kasper Fosse, again, big favourite, kind of one of the big contenders for this race. We saw his great speed in the semi-final. So they've had that semi-final. They've tried to do whatever recovery they have, and I think the runners will be glad that this knockout sprint is spread over 2 days as opposed to just 1 day. They can run distances of a marathon just in your cooling up and warming down. Just the number of Ks they run are just incredible in trying to get that recovery in and get your body ready for the next final. But here we go. We are ready for the final of the knockout sprints here at the European Championships in Neuchâtel in Switzerland, and they are all ready. Here's Wojtek Kral, 2 times winner at the knockout already. Just a picture of calm, getting set, getting composed on their way out of the start. So we are ready. These 6 men competing for the 3 medals, and they are off.
Just
straight out.
Just to come back to the forking once again, I mean, they can't be 100% sure that there isn't a forking, because you still have the option of different loops, and they have this map turn, so they can't be 100% sure that there's not an option with 2 different loops, but I guess they are quite aware of that it's unforked.
Yeah, I think they will. If they want to keep that as a possibility, that it could be forked, but I think they'll have a strong feeling that they are going to be, going the same way throughout here. And as we can see, they're all straight out here and on their way into the second control.
And Joey Hadon,
so Joey Hadon leading, Kasper Fosse, Wojtek Kral.
They want to make it fast here, especially Joey Hadon is not interested in a race which is kind of a slow speed.
Oh, but have they hit the? Yeah, they had to go back because it was quite. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it was right tucked on the side of that road, so I had to cut into the cars, but has still that same order as they're really pushing now up these stairs. And again, they've all gone this same route here, which involves taking those stairs there, then looping back round to this third control. The fourth one is then quite an easy one, and then you have a little bit of a route choice. In fact, you can just see that fourth control there in the right of shot, and then they'll have some choice into the fifth as well. But Joey Hadon is taking it out. Wojtek Kral in that second, Kasper Fosse in third place, Matthias Kibert in fourth. But all just trying to stay together at this point. It's early days in this race. After just about 2 minutes of racing, and still they all go the same way here. Back down those stairs. Those stairs aren't too bad to go down, and then we'll round this building back up again towards the kind of grassy section of this course. But it's no surprise, I think, who we see at the lead of this pack.
No, of course. I mean, Joey Hadon is very well aware of his strength in the uphill running, and I mean, he knows that it's the first part that's being uphill, and in the end it will be downhill. So I guess his tactics is to try to make the others tired and push as hard as possible already from the beginning.
Oh, but this is potentially, I don't know if this is a mistake here, because it's kind of underneath the wall, so you can't go directly to that, and then make potentially a mistake there from Joey Hadon, who was looking to go kind of more close to the red line. So he's kind of dropped back, and we have Kasper Fosse in the lead. Then we have Matthias Kibert. Joey Hadon still there in third, but dropped a couple of places there. And Kasper Fosse goes to the front. He's got a small gap. And again, we have some splitting up. I think it's Matthias Kibert's going the other way.
That's where the course planner said it's a good option to go the Kibert's way. Let's see if they are right. He will avoid to run the stairs. The long stairs all the way, if he's going south there.
Oh, no, but I think he's not. I think he's going to...
Yeah, he is. It's just the GPS not being very accurate. So here,
but it's which side of the wall? There we go. That was a good move.
I'm very sure he was quite nervous when he was seeing that the others are not following.
Oh, but splitting up again into the control number 9. I think we saw Fossa go the other way. So they have split up again into this 9th control, which we're going to see is kind of just before the arena passage. So this is particularly interesting to see as they come through. So it was Fossa and Rankan who both took that good route choice, and that was a good one to do. Goodness me. So we have Fossa, we have Rankan in 1st and 2nd, Matthias Kiberts in 3rd, Hadon in 4th, Kral in 5th, and goodness me, it's good to see them splitting up, taking risks and really trying to outwit their opponents on this final. So they're through the arena passage. They've got 4 more controls to go. They've got to try and, this is the bit we've seen them cutting through before. They've got this control just in here. And then we do still have a kind of one last major route choice for them to take, control 11 to 12.
I think this race will be decided at control 11 to control 12. So let's see now. It'll be very interesting to see
which way they're going to go. They got to head up here. They're going towards control number 11, and we're going to see which way they go. This group of 4 all close together. Joey Hadon's managed to push his way to the front at this point. Kasper Fossa going behind, and now we'll see which choice they make, and they're all going back. That seems to be the best way. So Joey Hadon, then Kiberts, then Rankan, then Kasper Fossa, then Wojtek Kral, who looks like he's not going to make it 3 out of 3 in knockouts on the World Cup circuit. Hadon here, down into this control number 12. They're looking, it's just going to be out of shot there, and then they've just got the last few strides to go. So here we are, looking in at the run-in. You can see this control number 13 just in the picture here. We're waiting for the runners to come through, and they've been able to make the different routes, and it's Kiberts in the lead, and he's going to try and out sprint Joey Hadon. Kasper Fossa is there as well, and Kiberts has taken that different route choice. Let's see the finish line. Where is it going to go? Kiberts takes it. Matthias Kiberts takes the gold. Joey Hadon in the silver medal position. Kasper Fossa in the 3rd place, and goodness me, that was amazing. Just that route, just that 12 to 13, he managed to get ahead.
Yeah, what an exciting finish here. Very nice to see that it was the last route choice that decided this race. And what a streak by Matthias Kiberts. He won the gold medal at the World Championships 2012 in Switzerland. He won the gold medal in sprint 2018 at the European Champs in Switzerland. He won the sprint relay this week in Switzerland, and now he wins the knockout sprint. He's unbeatable in sprint at championships in Switzerland.
Fantastic stats, and that was a really impressive performance there from Matthias Kiberts, choosing that risk to go the other way and just really attacking that last section, because Joey Hadon was in front, but you could see that little shot there when he just came through, just came round that bend, and he was in the lead. But I mean, Joey Hadon taking a second place in a row in a knockout sprint. He's got such good form there, and he's beaten some class athletes to get there as well. And Fossa in 3rd place.
Yeah, and we have to give away some flowers to the course planners as well. I mean, we have seen many different choices here in this final as well, not only to the course planners, but also to the runners. You can see that everyone here wants to win a medal or even win the race. And they are splitting up. They have the self-confidence that I can do this on my own. I don't have to just follow the others and then trust on my physical skills in the very end, but I can decide this on my own, and it was a very interesting final here.
Yeah, very interesting. That was them kind of grouping back up again at control 9 after that route choice, and here we can see them. They've all gone this same way through 11 to 12, which I think would have been by far the best route choice, just looking at it on paper. But then you see 12 to 13, there's kind of a block of buildings in the way, and Kiberts is able to take it. And look at the faces of those 2 Swiss men as they're able to take number 1 and number 2 on home soil here in Neuchâtel, and that's just what it means to them. And well, you know, 3 Swiss in the top 4 is pretty impressive as well.
Very good performance by Ricardo Rancan as well. I mean, it was his first appearance in the championships and his first race in the championships, and he ended up in 4th position. That's very impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive as we have another look through at this GPS. And for me, what was so exciting about this race is that it just kept changing order of who was leading, and that was very exciting.
I mean, it was a smart move to have the start with such a lot of climbing, because it makes the runners tired. They have been running the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and they have to start into this wall, and it makes them tired. So it's more likely that they take some bad decisions. And then this move here from control 7 to 8, where Kiburtz just got in front of the others, and then it changed again, and we had Kasper Fosser in the lead at the run over. It was very exciting. And we will see here now, there would have been the option to control 12 to just continue. I think it was smart to back out there, and then we will see to control 13 that Kiburtz went another way. We don't really see it, but
you get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went north of the line there instead of south. Here we go. This is the picture. You can see it, where you can see him coming down the hill, and then Hadorn comes round, and you're thinking, who's going to be in the lead at this point? And you see that Kiburtz was the only one going this way, and you can just imagine his feelings when he sees that Joey Hadorn will be behind of him. This must be the best feeling ever in a sprint. You split up, you take a risk at the second last control, and you see that it's paying off. Yeah, that must be the most rewarding feeling, absolutely. Well, that was dramatic and exciting, and we're going to do it all over again for the women's final. But there we can see a confirmation of the men's final results. Matthias Kiburtz taking it after, that spectacular route choice decision there over Joey Hadorn. And just the speed and the intensity of all those races was absolutely fantastic. So, okay, we can, I think, move on to the women's final. And, oh, no, not quite yet. We will have some pictures of the men's final first, and then we will move on to the women's, which is going to be the same course. It's going to be these kind of same challenges around these streets in kind of the Old Town and the Castle of Neuchâtel. It's hopefully going to be another absolutely, like, packed race with people going all sorts of route choices and having to be on top of their game as well. But I think we're going to have our flower ceremony then for our top 3 before we confirm we'll confirm all the results and everything, and the medals will be awarded later. But these 3 guys full of smiles here as they come to accept their flowers. So Kasper Fosser there, he'll take the bronze medal. Was in contention, up and about there for the whole race. Just not quite got it at the end. You did see him. He didn't quite have the speed of the top guys all the way to the end. Joey Hadorn is absolutely delighted with his second place, and he doesn't seem at all unhappy that he was just pipped to it by Matthias Kiburtz. Maybe he'll be a little bit disappointed, but great racing.
I mean, you have seen how the race developed. Yet almost everyone has been in the lead once, so I think when you got over the finishing line and you're on a medal spot, you're happy, not unhappy here.
Yeah, all 3 of these guys are so happy. The margins here in the knockout sprint are so small that you really have to be on your A game to be able to compete and to be able to win a medal here. So congratulations to all 3 of the medalists from the European Champs knockout sprint. So Matthias Kiburtz, the first ever European champion in the knockout sprints. And we get 2 Swiss there in the women's final. We will have to wait and see. We've actually only got one Swiss who's made it through to the final of the women's. That is Simona Abersold, but she is in a good position to be able to take a medal, if not the title, again today. So we will soon be moving on to the women's. I think we've got about 3 minutes before the start of the women's, and we can see the lineup here. Again, a great mix of nations. And as we talked about before, we've got Natalia Gempeler has advanced ahead of Sabine Hausfeld, who was disqualified after missing out control number 2. So we've got Alexanderson, Abersold, Gempeler, Benjaminsen, Janasikova and von Krusenfrener. So they will all start to line up soon. And you know, they've been in quarantine, they've been kind of trying to get that recovery in from the semi-finals, and maybe you're going to be a bit happy if you're like Tove Alexanderson and Simona Abersold, that you were racing in that first semi-final, had a little bit longer to kind of recover, get kind of some fluids on board and kind of reset your mind for the challenge that is the final. So you can see these 6 fantastic women are lining up here. Simona Abersold, the only Swiss who's made it through to the final here on home soil, and she's in a good position, as we said, to take a medal here. Tove Alexanderson, she won the last knockout sprint in Switzerland, multi-world champion for a very good reason. We've got Andrina Benjaminsen. She won her qualifying, she won her quarterfinal, she won her semi-final. She's in a great position. Natalia Gempeler advances after coming 3rd in her semi-final. Teresa Janasikova then won a fantastic sprint finish in that 3rd semi-final to make this final. So too was a great performance from Wilma von Krusenfrener to get that final spot. So all of these women have got great credentials and they've put in great performances to get here. They're now going to be faced with the same challenge that the men had. It's going to be exactly the same course. There we go. They're given their maps. You know, they'll have got through to this kind of start gate. They'll have seen that there's not a runner's choice. It's just, they may be thinking, oh, there might be loops, but it's just a straight course here. So they're lining up at the start line here, getting into the zone, getting focused. So these 6 women competing for the 3 medals here in this final of the Knockout Sprint European Championships. Okay, and they're off. They begin 7-8 minutes of painful racing, of tough racing here. And again, Gempeler kind of goes to the back at this point, lets the others take the lead to make the choices, as Simona Abersold heads straight to the front of that pack to go out into these narrow passageways for the first control. Really takes the initiative and heads straight to the front.
Let's see if we will see Abersold and Alexanderson taking the lead again directly in the beginning.
Yeah, this looks like...
Yeah, I think they are the big favorites here. I would split it up a bit. Usually I would say they are the big favorites if they can get away or do their own race. They don't have do any mistakes. I would exactly say it would be splitted like it is right now, Benjaminsen, Alexanderson and Abersold. But if the others are in contact on the last loop, on the short loop, everything can happen, because we have seen them running on the last meters, and it will be tough to beat them. And then when I say them, then I mean, of course, Janasikova and von Krusenstjerna. I don't really see that Gempeler. I mean, it's a great effort of her being in this final after her maternity leave, but might be a bit early. She will definitely be back for the medal fight a bit later in this year, but I don't really see her fighting for the medals. But of course, everything can happen.
Well, yeah, anything could happen, but I guess, you know, she wasn't in the sprint relay team for the Russians a couple of days ago either. You know, that's a decision that they want to rest her or, you know, or she's not going to be the top 2 women to make it into that team. So it suggests to me that she's not quite back exactly where she wants to be after her pregnancy quite yet. But really, this seems to me quite a big and decisive split from these 3 athletes, to be honest, and I think this is where the medals are going to go. I can't really see this gap being taken up. But Tove Alexanderson just being kind of careful as she's punching the control there, wanting to make exactly sure of what she's doing, losing a metre or so, but we know, we kind of saw her kind of falling behind and catching up again in her semi-final, and we know she's got the speed to be able to afford to take a couple of extra seconds or an extra second of care, and then have the power to be able to catch back up to Abersold. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see if that's what she continues to do throughout this final. But seriously, these 3 have made such a significant gap over the rest. But and now you've got to be careful to kind of head enough to the left here to get down
or
on
to
this
the
level
right.
Underneath.
You can also go to the right and then go under the tunnel there.
And then go into the tunnel.
Control.
Yeah. Yeah, come back under this tunnel and then go back up again.
Right.
Oh.
Now we see
Oh, it's nearly a mistake.
the 3 of them change in the lead. Benjamin's in the lead now. Splitting up here. This control, and now here we will have this route choice where we have seen that it was faster to go to the south, as we have seen Matthias Kiebert's doing. None of them is doing that. There would have been a chance now.
But they all look all to be going the same way.
So
maybe not. Maybe
south,
some of them going to the south. Yeah, I think so. But I think the gap is too much here. So you either take this route choice, which goes a lot closer to the red line. It feels like more of the obvious route choice, but you've got to be able to go down all these stairs, and it really slows you down at this point. And Benjaminsen is getting a gap. It's impressive.
Great technique here in the downhill.
And then they're into, and then they're making this, but I think Benjaminsen got the better one. I think we saw that was quicker to go the way that Benjaminsen went. So on this route choice here to the 9th control. So we'll see if she still ends up in the lead. And Tove Alexanderson looking very good on the downhill. Again, we see that, and able just that quicker on the steps. So we're going to see this control, the 9th control, who appears there first. Oh, and it is Alexanderson here. So not a good one there for Benjaminsen as she drops back into 3rd. I was expecting her kind of to be able to maintain that lead. So still 1, 2, 3, Alexanderson, Abersold, Benjaminsen as they head through the arena, through the centre here in Neuchâtel, in this old town, and they've only got 4 more controls to go, but there's still some opportunity for risks to be taken as Alexanderson stretches out here and really tries to attack this last part. You've got to squeeze between some of the shoppers and then punch this control, and not taking any risks there. They're going the same way.
Interesting will be from next control. Will they back off again? Will both of them do that? Will they continue? My feeling is that Abersold should do something different here. Otherwise it will be very tough for her to pass Tove Alexanderson. But let's see. Will be interesting. Will they back off again where they come from, or will they continue?
So you can just see the controls just around there, and you've got to see, are they going to go back? Well, Alexanderson does.
And
yeah,
also
they both
Abersold.
go back rounds. And
also Benjaminsen.
Yeah, Benjaminsen does too. So 2 more controls to go. And for here, here it looks like there's too much of a gap at this point for Alexanderson. She really has to kind of make a big hesitation here for Abersol to be able to catch her up. It's not quite as tight as we saw the men's, where there was a possibility to gain a couple of seconds on a route choice there. But this is our last control. We're going to see who comes round the corner first. They'll either come from those cars or they'll come from the left. Here we go. Alexanderson here in to take another win here at this knockout sprint, and she's got a big gap, I think, ultimately on Abersold. So Tove Alexanderson from Sweden is going to take the European title in this knockout sprint. Her second knockout sprint win internationally in a row. So Alexanderson from Sweden takes the win. We have Abersold. Fantastic second place for her, and congratulating Alexanderson on the finish line. And Benjaminsen, there we go, there she is, into the bronze medal position. So Alexanderson with a win and the European title, Abersold in second place, and Benjaminsen into third place. And what a race!
What a classy race by Alexanderson. I mean, she had the control all the way, and it felt as if she made the difference in the downhill part when she really was pushing away from Abersold and had great control over the map and no problems pushing hard in this slippery and this cobblestones. Yeah, very, very impressive again.
Yeah, it almost feels like, you know, she let Abersold take control in that first half, and she allowed her to kind of dictate the pace and everything like that. She just sat just behind her and then kind of switched on the burners about halfway through as she was going down that hill there, and knew she had the better technique kind of going down there, and then for me just kind of like kept going in that second half of the map.
That's what we were talking about in her semi-final, that she was able to close the gap several times in this downhill part and in this tricky part in the very end. And I think that's something she had with her in her mind when she was entering this downhill, that now is the part I'm really strong and I don't have to be afraid at all. I can just push hard and execute the controls, and she felt good in that part in the semi-final already, and I think that helped her a lot. Also a good race by Benjaminsen, who took the third place here. It was tough for her to keep up with the other two. I mean, they're so good in any distance, but she did that in a great way, and she was not that far behind, and she was with them on the top there. Very well deserved bronze medal.
Yeah, absolutely, very, very well deserved. And yeah, you can see a big gap kind of back to the rest of the runners there, and yeah, is absolutely delighted with her bronze medal. Very, very well deserved after a whole long afternoon of racing, and it was kind of almost, as we were chatting through today, Tove Alexanderson and Simona Abersold were together in the same quarterfinal, the same semi-final, the same final. They've ended up being top two, you know, gold and silver medal here. And yeah, I mean, you could look at those that quarterfinal and the semi-final and go, oh, you don't really fancy your chances in that one with Tove Alexanderson and Simona Abersold. You really, when there's only two to go through, that looked like a death heat, to be honest, for anybody else wanting to try and get a next kind of spot. So yeah, absolutely. But you can see here just the story told by the GPS is just how quickly, I think, the top three were able to make the gap on the rest of the field initially. But
I mean, you mentioned that before. They have been racing the whole day, and you start with this brutal uphill running and also on the stairs and everything. And it's in parts like this when you really see the physical, like the difference in the level they have. It's just, I mean, we are talking about the two best orienteers in the world, and maybe some of the best orienteers ever we have seen. So it's not a shame to lose against them, and they are very good. And the others, if you take von Krusenstjerna, she's such a young runner, still has many years to develop her physical skills, and she's already in a final here. She's top 6 and doing a great competition today. So I would really see that those two today, Abersold and Alexanderson, they were just the best, and Alexanderson was the best of the best.
She really, really was. Yeah, that's so true. And you can see that gap reflected in those results there. And it's a shame to see Teresiana Sikova come sixth. You know, having had a second place before, but I think she was, to be honest, I think probably just a bit spent after making it through all the way into the semi-final.
You could also see that she had some pain on her hand when she came back, so she might have fallen in one part in the slippery stones. So we don't really know what happened behind. We followed a lot these 3 runners on the top, but she would really have needed the others to do 1 mistake or 2 mistakes at one time of the race to get back into this group, because if she would have been with the group in the downhill, I think she would have had a chance to maybe follow with her physical skills in the downhill, but I think the uphill in the beginning might have broken her her chances.
And there's also, you kind of got to factor in that the shorter turnaround, but they do choose their heats. They've got to factor in whether they want an early heat, whether they want a later heat when they make that decision. But I think also what I've really liked seeing from these 3 is that they were all leading at some point of the race. Again, I think it's a reflection of them all taking control at different parts of the race, them all having to be making those kind of decisions, I guess, as we were saying, at the front, and that's really exciting. But Antonia Benjaminsen gets the bronze medal here, these European Championships. It was, really great result for her, not quite as fast as the other 2. And then Simona Abersold in her first senior European Championships individual race takes a silver. She wasn't part of the team as a senior. She wasn't part of the team 3 years ago in Switzerland. She was focusing on the Junior World Championships that year.
She won a medal in the middle distance there.
Oh, goodness me. I'm getting confused between the Worlds and the Europeans. But anyway.
How can you forget this exciting
I know, how
race?
can I forget? It was an exciting race. And Tove Alexanderson there with the gold medal. It'll be for her when all the results are tallied up. They will get their medals later. So there we go. There were our top 3 after a whole afternoon's competition in the knockout sprint. It was a shame, we don't see the women's races quite as close as the men's, but that is kind of a reflection of what we see quite a lot in these races. So it would have been great to see it maybe a little bit tighter, but still pretty exciting to see all of them there. And then they will be doing the interviews and then next kind of getting prepared for tomorrow's race, because we've still got one more competition of these European Championships.
Yeah, we have one more race to come, and I think we have seen in the women's race, we have seen that we have 2 big favorites also for tomorrow, but I think it's very open again in the men's race tomorrow. It's a different kind of orienteering when you have to do the job all the way by yourself compared to if you are in the group and you it's kind of a group running anyway. You might rest a bit. You don't always have to execute all the controls all the way. You can trust the back of the runner in front of you, especially if in parts you know that it will be unforked, and when you're kind of safe as well in your position. It will be different tomorrow. You will have to fight for every second, and it will be interesting again.
So I think we're going to hear from our 2 winners. Matthias Kubert's interview will probably be in German, so we will get you to translate again, Jonas, when that happens. Alexanderson will probably be in English, so we won't have to translate for an English audience. Although if she did it in Swedish, she could do that as well. So, and we've got the way it's going to work tomorrow, we've got the top 40 in the world rankings are going to be... they're going to be off last. That is kind of seeded as based on the world rankings from before the competition, so we could well see, I think, quite a lot of our younger athletes at the beginning post some quick times before we get to those top 40 athletes that we're going to focus on. Anyway, let's listen in to the winner of the men's knockout sprint final, Matthias Kieberts. Oh, I thought they were ready. They weren't ready. They're nearly ready. We'll still.
We are ready.
We're ready. They're not ready over there.
Herzliche Gratulation, Sieg heute, Sieg vorgestern. Was war heute ganz speziell? Was waren die Schwierigkeiten in diesem Chaos-Sprint?
Ja, Chaos-Sprint ist ein sehr hektisches Rennen. Wirklich, es entscheiden Kleinigkeiten über Sieg und Niederlage. Im Viertelfinale war ich schon fast ausgenockt nach einem Fehler und konnte ich dank meiner Physis immerhin nochmals ausschließen. Und ja, es war ein Schreckmoment schon. Und jetzt Halbfinale und Final glückte mir zum Glück sehr gut. Ja, am Schluss auch sicherlich die physische Komponente ist sehr entscheidend.
Danke vielmals und herzliche Gratulation. Genießen Sie noch den Sieg.
Danke vielmals.
So he said it was a very nervous race, and especially a nervous day for him because he was almost knocked out in the quarterfinal, and it was kind of a shock for him. He had to get himself into the race again there with his physical capacity, and it was very tight for him, and he's very happy with the semi-final and the final, of course. So he also said it's small things deciding about the victory or a medal or not winning any medal at all, so he is very satisfied with his race, of course.
To
Alexander, and we're going to hear from Alexander.
Tuve Alexanderson, congratulations, you are European champion in chaos sprint. What was the difficulty today?
Oh, it was really intense all the time, so you had to be really focused and you had no time for do any mistakes. So yeah, I'm really happy with the day.
Thank you very much and enjoy your first gold medal in chaos sprint.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, pretty standard there from Alexanderson.
I first thought it was the chaos sprint, but it was the knockout sprint, not the chaos sprint.
Well, either.
Yeah, but I meant more like a chaos, not the knockout
chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was. Well, the women's race wasn't that much chaos, but the men's it kind of was a little bit. But anyway, we will leave you with some of the pictures from today's races. Some fantastic quarters, semi-finals, and finals, and finally crowning our first ever European champions in the knockout sprint. Jonas and I will be back tomorrow afternoon with the kind of classic individual sprint. Expect it to be fast and furious once again. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.